This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
News from America says that the US has set a new record for the most weather disasters, costing $1 billion or more in 1 year, and we're not even in October yet.
Oh, no.
This autumn so far has seen record rainfalls recorded in Greece and Libya. Almost 20% of Africa is in drought. Atlantic hurricanes are intensifying with unprecedented rapidity. There's been flash floods in Hong Kong, and last year a record year for deaths from heat in Great Britain. But none of this is the fault of global warming, because that doesn't exist. And I know that because a mouthpiece for the oil industry told us so.
It's the country's number one priority. It's my number one priority, up and down the country, and that will be our focus.
He's gripping it. And anybody who says otherwise is a lefty, woke enemy of growth.
Absolutely.
Britain was hit by torrential rain yesterday as the remnants of Hurricane Nigel swept across the UK. Hurricane Nigel. What a stupid name for a destructive force of no good.
I'm a nutcase.
The storm initially formed in the centre of the Atlantic, wherever that is, but quickly picked up power, developing into a Category 1 hurricane by Monday morning. Forecasts say that while Nigel is likely to have peaked, yeah, haven't you just?
This is absolute tosh.
Likely to have peaked as it moved across the Atlantic. Strong winds are still expected. Flood warnings remain in place in Hertfordshire and Gloucestershire. And this despite the fact that the weather forecast for Thursday in London said a 30% chance of light rain between 3 and 5 in the afternoon, which is why I went out of the house without an umbrella. And I can tell you that it rained like it was the end of the world, with thunder, lightning, very, very frightening. And I put some pictures up on the World Wide Wait on my Twitter account. There's some amazing stuff that happened on Thursday. A very few number of people who were sitting in a pub outside the Tate Modern actually saw what I saw. And it was a rainbow that went from St Paul's to the City of London. From God to money. From the one thing that we used to worship to the one thing that everybody worships now. And I thought, blimey, that's deep. And then, on top of that rainbow, was another rainbow.
Groovy.
There's a picture of it on the World Wide Wait on my Twitter feed. And the rain, it was like the end of the world. It really was. It was a remarkable day. Where am I? Ah, yes. There were floods. Of course there were. There's always floods wherever it rains these days, probably because the water companies have taken all the money that they could have used on maintaining our drains and simply given it to themselves for excellence in being them. Nice work if you can get it, but you can't, so don't ask. And what does the forecast tell us about this weekend? Is there any point in asking? Saturday, cold start, then dry and fine for most. Listeners in Glasgow will have their own weather. I can check on that while you wait. One moment, please. Aha! What? It's not raining now? Pfft, rubbish. It will also not be raining tomorrow, if you can believe that. It will, however, be raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday, and raining next Saturday, and then raining on the 1st of October, that's the Sunday, and then raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday. So you've got one day in which you might be able to dry out. Tomorrow. Use it wisely. A cold start, then dry and fine for most. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for after tomorrow? Long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
At first windy, then less windy with sunshine and showers, and then up to the first week in October. Yeah, that's right. It's almost October. How did that happen? Practically Jesus' birthday. So sunshine and showers and an unsettled look with the wettest and the windiest weather more likely in the north and the west, particularly the northwest. Drier in the southeast of England. And then, the middle 2 weeks of October, it will feel autumnal but drier than average with above average temperatures. It'll feel autumnal but drier than average with above average temperatures. We'll take it. Daryl from Hove says, our economy is under attack from the tofu sandal-wearing eco-woke-tivists. That doesn't work. But here comes Superfishy to rescue us from this nightmare on Bin Street. He's going to ask the planet to put climate change on hold for 5 years. We're saved. What a guy.
I am totally 100% on it.
100% on it. This is him doing his best. Steph from Stockport says, credit where credit's due. Corella Bradman quite rightly points out that we don't need to save the planet by bankrupting the country. No need. Luckily, our illustrious Tory government has done that for us already. Yeah, they keep going on about saving us. Saving us money is their number one priority. Yeah, well, you could start at home. How does that sound? You could start by giving us the money back that you splurged on Bodger Johnson's legal defence.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
As a way to start. How about that? Cutting back on your expenses. How does that sound?
No.
Yeah, I thought so. 0345 6060 973. Chester. Hello, Jake.
Hi, Nick, you okay?
Yes, good, thanks.
You had a good week?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, I just want to talk about Rishi and how incredibly see-through what he's said is. It's obviously a reaction to the Uxbridge by-election, and he's jumped on something once again. And he literally throwed red meat to the climate change deniers. There is no tax for meat. There is no 7 bins. Has he got problems?
Yes.
Well, okay. Most Tories do have problems. I agree with that. But
his problem is that he's just about the least popular politician that we've ever had in this country, and absolutely nothing he does appears to make any dent in that unpopularity. He's trying to ingratiate himself with the general public, but the general public, as with one voice, are saying, "No! Yeah, we hate you, Fishy Sunak."
He's desperate. It screams of desperation. And what people, the climate... Okay, let me just say this. People that are woke, myself included, if it means caring about the world and the future, then I wear that tag, of a badge of pride, right?
Oh, my God. You should wake up in Rwanda. That sounds like treasonous behaviour to me.
I told you last week I'd love to go there, if you remember correctly. Remember?
Okay, well, no, I don't remember, but I'll see you at the airport. How does that sound? All right, thanks a lot, Jake. 0345 6060 973. Talking our country down. Can you believe that? Steph in Stockport says, credit where credit's due. No, read that one already. See, it's not even at the first break yet, and I'm already ahead of schedule. I am doing very well. Tom says, hi, Nick. Does Rishi Sunak think that we are stupid enough to fall for his latest trick in trying to win votes from his sycophantic Tory supporters? He's pretending he's the saviour of poor working people. If it wasn't so tragic, it would be funny. Yeah, I could be appalled, but I've decided to be amused. He's just becoming weirder and weirder. I mean, it doesn't help, of course, that he looks like a Thunderbirds puppet, as though somebody's yanking his strings. He would say that he's gripping his own strings.
I'm gripping it.
But he isn't. Someone else is doing that for him. That strange, desperately eager, bouncy little stick insect of mendacity, Fishy Sunak, has saved us. Saved us from the law that we had to have 7 bins for recycling. Gone. Saved us from landlords having to insulate the homes they let out. Gone. Saved us from the government telling us what to eat. Gone. Saved us from the government creating new taxes to stop us taking holidays. Gone. Saved us from the government telling us how many passengers we can carry in our cars. Where did that one come from? Maybe they had a couple of minutes to spare in their little video. Oh, I don't know, just say anything. So say the first thing that occurs to you, Mr. Sunak, sir. He said, we'll never impose these unnecessary and heavy-handed measures on the British people. Well, that's nice.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, but it rather implies that none of those things are actual laws. We will never impose these unnecessary measures on the British people. So they're not laws. It's a promise not to create those laws at some point in the future. He wants congratulating on not doing something that he wasn't going to do anyway. Well, we appreciate it, you bouncy tigger of oily vapidity. He might as well have said, so, and it always starts so with these people. So, the idea that the government can tell you what colour socks to wear on Sundays, gone. The idea that the government can impose a tax on breathing out, gone. The idea that this government is run by people who are in any way serious about the things that matter to the people of this country rather than trying to hoodwink just enough gullibles to squeak a win at the next general election, gone. What is this Thunderbird's puppet talking about?
It's the country's number one priority.
If he keeps saying that over and over again, then we'll believe him. They should have picked another word. They should have tested that word in his mouth. Okay, that's no good, Mr. Sunak. We're going to have to think of another word. Somebody get me a thesaurus. Is out. You sound ridiculous when you say that. You sound like a dog's squeaky toy. Where is it? Where is it? Where's the Why is he so desperate to cling on to power? I mean, do you ever wonder about that? I mean, he's a billionaire. How much more power and money can he possibly want? And the answer to that is always more. More power, more distance between him and the proles, more feelings of unique specialness that comes with floating above the experience of everyone else, more feelings of superiority when in the company of people who only have millions. They have to be careful because you can lose millions. But you'd have to be the world's most deranged shopper to get through billions. £1 billion is the world's biggest comfort blanket. And what does a billionaire always want? More billions. It's a sickness. Give me another reason why this man wants this job so much. I mean, this job that comes with constant criticism, that he obviously is not very good at, that is trashing what's left of his reputation, that sees him sinking in the public's reckoning by the day, and which pays the kind of money that he would leave as a tip for the caterer. Why is he so pathetically keen to win the next general election? Why is that his number one?
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Well, let's get back to it.
0345 6060 973. Here's call in Hull. Charles.
Hi, Nick. I must say, just lately, you've been going through the difficulties in your studio and things,
What do you mean?
Well, there was your sore throat, which was a bit alarming.
Yeah, I think I've got it again. I think that there was something in a jar of jam that I'm not kidding. That shouldn't have been in that jar of jam. Either it was like a glass had broken on the inside of it, and it was in the jam itself. Or there was some sort of I don't know. Perhaps Vladimir Putin was involved. Some sort of noxious chemical in there or something. And after that sore throat episode that seemed to last forever, I was slightly suspicious about the jam, but I left it in the fridge. And today, stupid moron that I am, I thought, oh, well, there can't be anything in there. So I ate it. Now I feel weird again.
Look out. What about when the woman entered your studio while you were live on air?
Oh, yeah.
It sounded like she didn't want to leave.
Well, at least it wasn't as upsetting as the previous incarnation of the what did I call it at the time? I think it might still be available on the World Wide Web on one of my old Nick Abbot Habit podcasts, which are best ofs. I think I called it the strange incident of the intruder in the nighttime, so something like that. Yeah. He gave me all sorts of grief. He's like, "All right, mate, calm down. I'm on the air. Get out."
She wouldn't let it lie. And then
there's
just
more.
last week,
Can't wait.
your
Yes.
board crashed down.
Yes, it did. Yeah. I know.
It's all happening.
Yeah. Okay, excellent work, Charles. You can't leave that many gaps and expect to keep coming back. I'm sorry, it's just not possible. But I appreciate the call. 0345 6060 973. I'm not saying that we're in a great hurry or anything, but, time is running out. Tom texts, "Hi, Nick, does Rishi Sunak think we are..." No, read that one. I'll tell you what, I'll do a deal with you. When I read them, can you get rid of them? Thumbs up next door. Hey, we only just thought of that. It's a brilliant wheeze. It just might work. Lucy tweets, "Where's the magic carbon tree... Where's the magic carbon reduction tree to support Sunak's latest net zero sum game?" They don't have I don't believe for a single solitary second, that this government actually have a plan other than trying to find some way of winning the next general election. Why they are so keen to do that, I can't tell. I just don't know. Why is the billionaire so desperately eager to get us on side? Why does he care? I mean, the only thing, I can think of two things. He really cares about the little people and wants to dedicate his life to making our lives better, or he wants more time to monetize his position. Select. I mean, all this because he says that he is making sure the government stays out of our lives. Out of our lives in the way in which it's insisting on ID cards before we can vote, under the guise of stopping election fraud that doesn't exist. Staying out of our lives. Staying out of our lives by forcing striking workers to go back to work or face the sack. Staying out of our lives by making it against the law to openly criticise the government. Oh, and by the way, that thing about loading your car with more people than it was designed to carry is not exercising your freedom from EU interference. It's so some moron with 10 people in their hatchback doesn't plough into a row of school children at a bus stop because they aren't in control of their car because they can't see out the windscreen. That's what that's for. And it'll get you banned, and your insurance company won't want to do business with you anymore. But according to the actual blooming Prime Minister, you don't have to worry about any of that, which you can explain to the police officer who will be tasering you as they drag you out of your car. Save us from the government telling us how many passengers we can carry in our cars. What is he talking about? Bin-mageddon has been averted. The stake surcharge has been cancelled. The EasyJet excess has been excised. This is how the Times wrote this up. In his speech on environmental policy, Rishi Sunak promised that when it came to meat and flying taxes, as well as the government diktat to force households to use 7 bins, I've scrapped it. There was only one issue. No one was seriously proposing any of these policies. There was nothing to scrap. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. It's like we've gone through the looking glass with Alice. He was telling us a lot of things that don't exist that he's saving us from. He'll be putting on armour and telling us he's just slain a dragon next. I can't believe it. 0345 6060 973. Let's see now. Who should we have? Eeny, meeny, miny. Manchester, Stephen.
Hello, Nick.
Stephen.
How are you doing?
All right.
I've got a bit... okay, yeah.
Great.
I think last time we talked was when... no, actually, it's a couple of weeks ago. But when Ronaldo signed for United, and you said, that's not going to work out.
No, I didn't.
I think you did. I kind of disagreed, but...
okay, all right. I don't know where that was going or what that was about, but I think I've heard that call before. Clive in Sevenoaks emails, I see that Mayor Khan has gone off to the UN in New York to tell him how good a ULEZ is. The only problem is that his flight NOx emissions, nitrous oxide, is about a year's worth of ULEZ savings. Probably not. Amelia emails, Liz Truss was absolutely clear that she did not make any mistake and all decisions she took were correct.
Absolutely.
And she's been very clear about that.
I'm genuinely unclear.
That we have never had it so bad.
We have never had it so good.
And anybody who says otherwise...
That is a disgrace.
And that's all I have of her. God, wouldn't it be marvellous if that's all we heard of her for the rest of our lives? But she still thinks that people are interested in what she says. I mean, somebody needs to introduce Liz Truss to reality. Has anybody tried that yet?
No.
Give it a go. You never know. It might work. They're still calling it the moron premium, by the way. The extra that you have to pay on your mortgage, the extra that we have to pay the markets to borrow money. The moron premium.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the moron is still trying to address the nation as though anybody cares what she thinks. We have become, never mind about what the crazy clown show that they got going on over in America.
Oh, shut up!
We are the laughing stock of the world. It's just been a parade of inadequates for the last 13 years. I mean, have any of them at all benefited our lives in any way?
I think this is nonsense.
I mean, from him onwards. Just ask yourself, is your life better now than it was 13 years ago? When you went to the supermarket 13 years ago, were you freaking out about the bill at the till? When you called up your GP 13 years ago, did they tell you it's after 8 o'clock and you cannot call now? This is a recording. You cannot leave a message on this service. Please try again tomorrow. Did they say that to you 13 years ago? Adrian from Chesterfield says, Fishy Rishi is delaying the ban on petrol diesel cars by 5 years because he doesn't want to make people poor. And here I was thinking that making us poor was his number one priority. Horse and bolted is the phrase that comes to mind. Yeah, he's just interested in saving money for us.
The little people.
Not leprechauns. Sure he is. I mean, it's just beyond belief what's happening these days. It's almost as though they are providing us with comic material just as a way to distract us from what it is that they're doing to us. You know, we'll give them a laugh and then they won't concentrate about, not being able to heat their homes or eat. His own Department for the Environment put in a statement sent to waste management companies saying that it was never the case that 7 bins would be needed by households because waste management companies were probably freaking out themselves. They were like, hang on a minute, 7 bins? We never heard of such a thing. And so they had to reassure waste management companies that no such thing was being proposed or existed, nor will it ever exist. And he said all of this nonsense as a distraction from the real content of his speech, which was eerily close to what he would have said if a multinational oil company had been writing his script for him, which they most probably did. He watered down net zero policies, including delaying a ban on new petrol and diesel car sales, and postponing a ban on oil boilers and dropping rules for landlords to make homes more energy efficient. And the poor who voted for the Tories last time might think of that last one, energy-efficient homes, when they are shivering in their leaky, drafty, too expensive rental homes this winter. Just remember. They might also like to recall that Tory ministers are more likely than MPs from any other party to be landlords themselves. Coincidence? And then the Prime Minister said the debate about how we get to net zero has thrown up a range of worrying proposals, and today I want to confirm that under this government, they'll never happen. Under this government. Under this government, he will ensure that no oil company executive misses their bonus. No energy giant will suffer a downgrading of their share price. Not a penny in profits will be sacrificed for the sake of the environment upon which we all rely, even billionaires. Great job, Rishi Sunak. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but can we have the old PM back?
Absolutely.
Not you, the other one.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
He is a very sick and dangerous man.
Yes, well, I'm a very sick man. I accidentally ate some jam which made me ill in the first place. Again, I'm an idiot. Hornchurch. Hello, Billy.
Hi, Nick.
Billy.
How's it going?
Great, mate.
It's such a shame to hear you might have the thing again. I just wanted to start off by saying I'm loving your podcast with you and Carol at the minute. I find it really, really funny. I started listening to it this week.
Oh, well, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to get your sort of opinion on... I've been seeing a lot of on social media news recently about Reform UK, headed by Richard Tice.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to sort of see what you thought about them.
Well, I'm trying not to think about them at all, not for a single solitary second in any given day.
No, it's
That's
just
my policy.
Their policies do seem very, I don't know, they're too good to be true. Especially with Nigel Farage as one of their co-founders.
Right. Well, you lost me at Nigel.
Fair enough.
But you want to know what I think. What do you think?
Well, obviously their policies seem pretty good with all the tax and whatnot, but whether or not it will actually come into effect is another thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, buyer beware. Excellent work there, Billy. Keep your eyes peeled. Thanks for that. Paul text, did you hear Anne Widdecombe on Ben Kent's show last night called Rishi Sunak, Rishi Sunak? Anne Widdecombe? He said, young Mr. Kentish also used your soundboard.
What?
In what way did he use my soundboard? What way did he use my soundboard?
I think he used one of your Liz Truss ones. I think it was one of your Liz Truss ones.
Right. Was it this one?
Absolutely.
Yes, I think so.
Right, okay. Well, I'm not entirely happy about that. Where can I register a complaint? Oliver emails, why haven't you brought this problem up on your radio station yet? The left wing are clearly suppressing the only person capable of saving our country and culture, Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg. This is a huge problem and it's been going on for years. He is a huge problem and he has been going on for years.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
I mean, this is one of his best.
We could have cheaper food, clothing and footwear straight away by getting rid of the protectionist anti-trade tariffs that the EU imposes. And it would be very good for the British people and it would provide certainty. And I think once there's certainty, the country will begin to reunite.
God, it's painful. He's just one long, sad sigh, isn't he? Truth. Hemel Hempstead, hello, Jordan.
Hello, Nick. Oh, I didn't expect to hear you. I hope you're well.
No.
I don't know who I was expecting, to be honest.
Yeah, who were you expecting? You called me, right?
I think so, yeah. 0345 something.
Mm-hmm.
So Johnson's original target, it was for 2030, it was pretty much just red meat for COP26 to say we're going earlier than everyone else. But then all the companies actually got on board. He's trying to show that Britain's doing better than we actually are. But all of the companies actually got on board with it. Ford are doing really well, Nissan are doing really well, and then Sunak comes in and says, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
He says, we need a different form of politics, he does. He says, if we change the way our politics works, can we be brave, blah, 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 blah. And then he says, I have made my decision, we are going to change. So he's throwing out democracy, the way it seems. He's ripping up his manifesto pledges that he stood on in 2019, and he has made the decision as the sole executive of power to change. And he's only doing that to throw red meat to the backbenchers, which personally I think is a hell of a lot worse than throwing red meat to an international climate conference.
Right. Can we throw a little less red meat about? It's ruining the planet.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Carrots?
Carrots is, yes, throwing carrots about. That's an excellent switch there, Jordan.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Well, you just don't believe a single solitary word that comes out of any of their mouths, and I think that would be an excellent place to start, don't you?
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Oliver says, why haven't you bought... No, read that. Text from Kath in North Wales, Theth. Nick, are you sure there were two rainbows, or were you so drunk you were seeing double? I think Joe Bides had a bad week. Joe Bides. Well, I have no idea who Joe Bides is. And I was not so drunk I was seeing double. It was an actual double rainbow.
Yowza.
And when it went from St. Paul's to the City of London. I mean, you couldn't have written it any better than that. And I was sat sitting there on the terrace of a pub outside the Tate Modern, which is one of the best views in London, by the way. And there it appeared after the storms swept through, and then the sun came out, and I thought, oh, I bet we get a rainbow. But we got the most perfect rainbow I've ever seen. Literally started at the Dome of St. Paul's and then arced over to the City of London. It's on my Twitter feed, along with some other pictures which may amuse.
Groovy.
Darius emails, for the avoidance of doubt, could you tell us who runs this country? I don't think it's fishy. What's happening to us? What have we done to deserve this? I don't know. I wish I could remember, because it must have been really bad. Let's have Copenhagen. Suk.
Nick, how you doing, my friend?
Great, mate.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Liz Truss's speech, and I said this to your researcher, the minute she started speaking, I set the alarm for 10:30 this evening to speak to you about it. Who on earth is still listening to Liz Truss?
It's amazing to me.
I beg you to tell me and educate me, Nick. What's going on? Who is listening to her?
I think that she seems to be one of the people that are being used as puppets by the Tufton Street Massive, this conglomeration of opaque think tanks and other various assorted wonks who appear to be doing the bidding of billionaires and corporations, although they won't tell us who pays them, which is in itself quite suspicious.
It is, Nick. And those individuals that she refers to, those organisations or the lefty, wokey, cokey, as Jonathan would say, who on earth are they? Identify them. But she's actually positioning herself. And the term brass neck comes to mind.
Yeah.
I was actually ashamed for her performance, but she had no shame.
I think that it's you know, sometimes you think that there's nothing that we the little people can do about any of this, because they are mighty, and you know, there's the dark forces who are really running the world, and you know, the billionaires and the multinational corporations and all of these people, they're so powerful. What can we do against that lot? And then they choose Liz Truss as their spokesperson, and you think, well, you know, maybe we're not in such great trouble after all.
I agree, Nick. And the other point I wanted to raise is, notwithstanding Rishi Sunak's 7 bins, I've never had 7 bins. No. I don't know what he's referring to. No. But Jacob Rees-Mogg, again, I thought of you. Like, this is your captivating audience and your fans. I tune into Nick Ferrari. I know that you're a great fan of his.
Yes. And
how he interrogates. But Jacob Rees-Mogg rang in to talk about the whole issue around Kenny Badenoch saying that Zach Goldsmith was too rich, etc., etc.
Yeah.
I know you're leading with this. And Nick put it to him that, well, do you think that someone that's too rich cannot comment on climate change? And honestly, in the way that you said, he said, well, in my view, it doesn't actually make a difference. I really respect Mr. Goldsmith, but, you know, I really agree with what Mr. Sunak is doing.
Yeah.
And he actually went against Boris Johnson and all of his policies. What's going on there?
I have no idea. I would listen less to any of them, because at this moment they're just making noise that signifies nothing. Just think of it as that.
I will do, Nick. Thank you very much. And I will go to sleep on that.
All right, excellent work there, Sue. Thanks a lot, mate. Cut through the tripe with a knife. Don't let them. Don't let them confuse and confound you. Just ignore them. As soon as they open their mouths, just, tune out. Noise-cancelling headphones. That's what everybody needs. Let's have, let me see now. Woolwich, Richard.
Oh, hi, Nick. Woolwich, yes.
Woolwich. Richard.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, me. Hi, I'm here. I just wanted to say that I'm going to go tomorrow to the march. In fact, I'm going to. I volunteered to marshal on it.
Oh, yes.
The EU march, and I just kind of a reflection. The reason why I'm going to do it is not because I think it will make a blind bit of difference. It won't. I think it's going to be an enjoyable day, but it's just that it's just this obvious point that there's no political machinery out there, including now the Lib Dems, who have kind of declared their hand this week, that are actually representing my view that we've made a dreadful mistake and that we need to return, I believe, back into a collective decision-making union.
Well, yes, but we actually haven't left the collective decision-making union. It's just that we're not part of the organisation that makes the decisions anymore. We just take them. We're pretending that we have sovereignty, but we aren't really diverging in any way from the EU, apart from in the amount of poison that we are allowing companies to pour into our rivers.
Bingo. This week has been... It's kind of exposed that so much because on the one hand you had this whole kind of situation with Starmer and the Daily Mail going ballistic over it.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what the Tories, a month or so ago, had actually declared anyway. It strikes me that we need to have a much more alliance with our closest neighbours. It bewilders me that politically everyone is turning away from it.
Not everyone. The people aren't turning away from it. It's the politicians that seem to be stuck in a bog of fear to say anything other than Brexit is great and we will continue delivering Brexit and nothing could be more fabulous than a future with Brexit.
Bingo. And you know what? I think that's why I'm going to march tomorrow.
Right.
It's not because... I really don't think it's going to make any difference, and I think it's going to be, it won't be reported and all the rest of it.
It will be reported. I'll talk about it on this show. I mean, I know that this isn't much, but of course it will be reported, and the more people that go, the more reporting there'll be. And your voice does matter. That kind of defeatist attitude of, nothing that we do is going to make the slightest bit of difference. Yes, it does. I'll give you the parallel lines thing again. You think, nothing's going to change, so we're just on a parallel line, and we're in the middle of parallel lines, and our destination is going to be the same regardless of what we do. If you just change one of those lines by 1 degree, it might not make much of a difference at first, but over time, there's going to be a huge difference between those two things. And by the way, God's on your side. Sunny intervals and a gentle breeze tomorrow. How does that sound? There you are, you see?
Brilliant.
You will not need an umbrella. Trust me.
No, I won't take that. And if I did, I'll put my EU flag on it. But you know one thing, Nick? I was a couple of weeks ago, I was actually one of those treacherous persons in the Royal Albert Hall because I'm a great prom fan. I went to over 40 concerts.
Wow.
Who was handing out EU flags.
Oh.
And when I read the news the next day and as it kind of progressed, I just felt absolutely empowered.
Yeah, exactly. If they are frothing at the mouth and so angry their eyes are bulging out of their heads, then you're doing the right thing, Richard.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you for your treasonous actions. You believe that people get so upset over a little piece of cloth on a stick. Morons. We're surrounded by morons.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
0345 6060 973. Here's a call in Plymouth. Hello, Mark.
Oh, hiya, Nick. Hiya. Yeah, I just, you probably talked about this before, but Rishi Sunak, he donated $3 million, didn't he, to where is a school in the States.
Yeah, a school that doesn't need the money. Yeah, no end of cash. I think that was his wife who donated that, and Rishi Sunak himself donated money to, I think, the private school that he went to, which also didn't need the money.
Well, the donation with the $3 million that where his wife's their fees are $86,500 a year. and some of that donation was for chairs, believe it or not, at £650 a pop or $650 a pop. Do you know what he donated to his local school when they were doing a raffle to get some funds together?
Was it zero?
It was a £10 bottle of wine.
Wow!
So he signed the bottle.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to raise money for pens and things.
It's the only time in history that somebody famous has signed something and reduced its price.
Yeah. But I think you mentioned earlier on about Richie and his motivation for being Prime Minister, and I think he's a bit like George Osborne. He's got so many jobs now, and he's done very well out of himself. And he's just, I think his ego is coming out more and more the more I watch him, and he's just setting himself up, isn't he? Really having a,
I don't think that can be it. He doesn't need the job. He doesn't need the work. He doesn't need to work another second for the rest of his life. He's a billionaire. He made hundreds of millions and married billions. So why is he doing it? What's in it for him?
I think it's what will come when he leaves politics and all his connections he's making, and having that on his CV as being Prime Minister. It's the ego linked to this in his head, the success of how well he'll do. So I think the two are intertwined, really, and that's what he's all about. I think he's very, very money motivated, and he'll make even more. Yeah. He's one of those people. Whatever you have, there's never be enough.
Well, I think that seems to characterise the rich in general. They just never seem to come to the point where they think they have enough. It's always more. And it's not necessarily that they have more, it's they have more in comparison to other people.
That's exactly it. They're very... I've met a few wealthy people, not as wealthy as him, but I've met a few wealthy people in the time, been on the planet a long time, and they're terrified of losing it, a lot of them. Yeah. And they like to compare themselves against other people with money, and they like to try and get one-upmanship on... It's pathetic, really.
Right, Bill Gates is furious with Steve Allen because... who's the guy that did Oracle? Or Steve... God, I can't remember. Yeah, one of those billionaires. Anyway, he's furious with another billionaire because the other billionaires parked his yacht in front of his sunset.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, OK, thanks a lot, Mark. 0345 6060 973. Chris in Subbington says, Nick, please ask the people of Fareham why they keep electing Cruella Braverman. And please, can they tell us what it would take to make them stop? Yeah, people of Fareham, what is it about that twisted sister that attracts you so? Huh? You like the cut of her jib? She seems like a nice person? Sarah says, Thunderbird's puppet, love it. Yup, Murdoch pulls the personality zilch puppet strings. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But the Thunderbird's puppet was my description of Rishi Sunak, because he does look completely empty-headed, as though he's made of wood. And it doesn't... It always appears as though he's like bouncing up and down, as though somebody with the DTs is yanking his strings. But I wouldn't be remotely surprised if Rupert Murdoch had control of most of them. Howard says, funny you should mention Sunak looking like a Thunderbird's puppet. Not long ago I said to my wife that facially Sunak reminds me of Lady Penelope's chauffeur Parker. I also think that Rees-Mogg looks a bit like the teacher in the Bash Street Kids.
I don't know anything.
Yeah. Like that teacher.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
I don't know anything. God, he's so exhausting. Reigate, hello, Alan.
Yeah, good evening, Nick. I'm sorry you're not been feeling so well.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you to say that. Appreciate it.
No, I'm genuinely mean that because, I connect with you in other ways.
You do?
Sunak's quite simple to work out. And the people around him are currently trying everything they can to distract the populace. That's what it's all about at the moment. But Sunak wants to stay in power, needs to stay in power, because if you work it out, 1.5 trillion of debt in 13 years works out at 100 billion of debt every month in those 13 years.
Right.
And that works out at 10 billion a week. What on earth has it been spent on?
Well, that's what I would love to know. Yeah, I ask that question regularly. Huh?
I want a full drains up. I want all the examination of all the corporate accounts of the government, this country. How's the money been spent? Where's it been spent? Who's got it in their bank accounts?
Yes.
And we need SOCA, the Serious Crimes Agency, somebody in the police to actually wake up and realise we've got to take this action as soon as they're out of power. But until they go out of power, we can't. So that's why he's desperate to stay in power.
Alan, he can
Quite
be
simple.
absolutely confident that nothing will be done whether he is in or out of power. And
Well, you like
over and
to
above
think-
that, he's just instructed, as far as I'm aware, he's instructed judges that investigation into where our money has gone, with specific regard to the PPE fraudulent deals, is not in the public's interest. That's the phrase.
Good Law Project, Joe Mohan, and quite a lot of us are making sure that this stays on the agenda. Don Johnson in LinkedIn and lots of people on Twitter who have got good connections are all trying to get the drains up.
Alan,
and I can assure you it won't go away. And this march tomorrow, good luck to them as well.
Right. It is going to go away because they will fight you with your money. They have an unlimited amount of money to fight you with, Alan, because it's your money.
Only for as long as they stay in power, Nick, and power changes. And when power changes, there may just be some honest politicians, some honest bankers, and an algorithm, HMRC, and artificial intelligence to find it all out. It's traceable. It's not hideable. It's traceable.
Yes.
And that's what most people don't realise.
Absolutely nothing is going to happen, regardless of who is in power, because they don't want to... They don't want to start investigations on people who are in power because they themselves will be in power, and that's not what they want. Any more than a turkey wants to vote for Christmas. They're just not going to do it, regardless of who is in power.
So they just want to keep the 90-odd% of the population down on the floor.
Yes. Exactly. They want to keep us down on the floor and angry at the wrong things.
Exactly, which is my very first point I made. It's all about distraction.
Yeah.
But we need to get people focused on what the power of the people can be.
That is absolutely true, yes. People say, what can I do? I'm just one of the little people.
The little people.
Not leprechauns. I mean, my vote doesn't make any difference. Yes, it does. Don't maybe start explaining the parallel lines thing again. 1 degree of difference over time is a massive difference. Alan, got to go. Thanks for that. Stay angry. But stay angry at the right things. Not the wrong things. It's not the people below you that are pulling you down. It's the people above you that are pushing you down. Stay angry at the right things.
This government...
Exactly. Would be an excellent place to start. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. So the topic in the next hour will be, what could possibly be in a jar of jam that makes my throat constricted and makes me feel as though I've just ingested poison? And how stupid would you have to be to eat the same thing twice? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hi, honey. How are you?
Listen to him. He knows everything.
This text from Mark in Huddersfield says, I have a possible start point to all the madness that is going on in the world. The Large Hadron Collider. Ever since they smashed the God particles together, the world has gone weird. It was a gateway which opened up an alternative reality. The global financial meltdown, Brexit, Trump, global warming, on and on. I know I'm right. Happy to speak about more reasons with a callback. Everything tracks back to the big experiment. Yes, I've had a few, but it makes sense to me. Right. And a text from Jamie in Bromley says, Nick, have you heard of the small man syndrome? Look it up. I will not. He says, this country is going from bad to worse, from Brexit to Boris to Starmer, self-destruction. I am immigrating after the next election. You're immigrating? I don't think that's what you mean there, Jamie. But the best of luck with that. Portsmouth. Hello, Will.
Hi, Nick.
Will.
Got a couple of three things for you.
Yes.
First one, Liz Truss's speech on Monday, she was complaining about absolutely everything.
Yeah.
But I believe you might recall her saying sometime last year that we'd never had it so good.
Yes. Well, there is absolutely no evidence that she ever said we have never had it so good.
We have never had it so good.
Apart from that.
Yeah, quite all right. And I thought I'd quickly go on to talk about Sunak's personal income last year.
Yes.
It was £3 million from his income and his assets.
Right.
Which means that he paid a marginal rate of 22%.
Yeah, because it's an increase in the value of his estate rather than earnings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He sold a lot of property, apparently.
Is that right?
Yeah. And number three, if I can quickly get that in, is so the nutrient neutrality amendment that the Labour Party supported in voting against the government.
Yeah.
I thought.
Where'd he go? Oh my God, he's just been cut off. Suspicious or what? Oh, you're back. We missed everything that you just said.
Oh, sorry, I'll start again. So the nutrient neutrality amendment that Labour voted against in the Lords.
Yes.
They did actually vote against it, but when the public order bill went through, they said they weren't going to vote against it because of reasons.
Because of reasons?
I don't know what those reasons were. They said they couldn't do it for like procedures or something, but they seem to be able to vote against something that maybe they can get political capital from.
No, I think that the way... there was some sort of complicated thing that the government didn't put it as part of the bill. They put it as an amendment to the bill, which means that the Lords could vote it out by getting rid of the whole thing, or... I don't know. It's just too boring to contemplate. But it was some special parliamentary procedure that they managed to do that.
Well, that sounds great.
Well, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about. No.
No. At least we can not protest against the regime anymore.
Yes, you won't have the necessity to protest against the regime anymore because the regime won't allow it as part of their dedication to free speech.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, Will. 0345 6060 973. Beverly, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, quick question for you.
Yes.
Who do you think said this? Recycling's a pain, and you need lots of bins, but it's very good for the environment.
Who said that?
Yeah.
Boris Johnson.
Sunak. When he was,
ask me another one.
With Truss said, you shouldn't, recycling's pointless, and he said, you need lots of bins. Can you believe it?
Yes.
You can't remember what he says, can you?
Well, he seems like an empty vessel to me, like a person that doesn't really believe anything he says at any given time because he's not actually thinking of what he's saying. He's just reading off a screen. Those stupid, bouncy performances that he does as though he's being jiggled about in his granddad's knee.
He actually gave me a headache listening to that last one, but I'm telling you exactly what that was because I've heard and done dozens and hundreds of these. It was a public school debating society speech. And it's so recognisable because you get taught how to do things. You start off by saying you're going to introduce honesty and then you lie. You say you're going to stop short-term politics and then you introduce a short-term measure for a short-term gain. And you're taught exactly how to do that. It was just literally like being back 50 years at school, listening to a speech. It was horrendous.
Well, what he resembles more than anything else is a prefect. And apparently he was head prefect in his school. He still is. He's our head prefect.
Yeah, absolutely right. He's still living in the days when he was at Winchester. And he believes that because he's very intelligent, he has the right to do what he wants.
Yeah, he may have selective intelligence, but he seems like a bit of a dope to me. I mean, he keeps banging on the same track, going nowhere, in a desperate hope for popularity, such a thing not appearing. And he keeps doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's not smart.
No, I agree with you. And somebody else touched on it as well. Think about dictators. They usually get in as the result of an election once.
Yes.
And then after that, they then take measures to cheat at the next election and the next election. And then they put down all opposition, and they cannot possibly ever allow themselves to lose, because if they do, they'll be shot.
It's also what would Donald Trump do?
I can be more presidential than anybody.
Yeah, exactly. This entire government is, their every action is so very much, what would Donald Trump do?
They're petrified of losing because so much stuff will come out.
No, I don't think, you and the last chap that I talked to, I think you are deluded in thinking that a new government of whatever stripe, regardless of which party is leading it, is going to litigate or is going to examine the massive fraud that has been perpetrated on the people of this country. They've got away with it. They know that. Doesn't matter whether they lose the next general election or not. No one is going to investigate it, ever.
Well, look at the COVID inquiry. When that actually reports, and Johnson put this back way after the next election quite deliberately.
Yeah.
When that reports, they can't influence that. That will become public knowledge.
Yes, it will become public knowledge, Mike, and it will be headline news, perhaps in some papers on one day, and after that, everybody will ignore it. Nothing will happen.
I'm hoping they do get the right.
Well, me too. I'm hoping that they do. I'm hoping that absolutely everybody involved in the massive fraud that has been perpetrated on the people of this country stay in jail for the rest of their lives. But it's not going to happen. They don't go to jail in this country. They go to the House of Lords.
Yeah, that's probably true. And why you keep saying, why is he doing it? Just look at Blair. Blair's a very wealthy bloke, but he's still jetting all over the world. He needs to have his little say. He needs to have his bit of influence. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need appearance money, but he still has to remain relevant.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's Blair. I mean, but that's Blair. He's a sort of like a lifetime politician. Sunak isn't. He's just some wonk from a hedge fund who got lucky.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you on that.
Yeah, all right.
Some personal belief in themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, because nobody has ever told them otherwise. Nobody has ever actually had a serious conversation about the limit of their abilities. So they think they can do anything, including moving an entire country of people to believe in something that's not there, like that list of fantasy rules that he just threw out.
And he's never lost in his life. He doesn't understand what it's like to lose. He can't believe it's possible.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he's so costed from the reality, he doesn't know how to use a credit card. I mean, just think about that for a second. How can anybody grow to be a human adult and not know how to use a credit? I bet Prince Charles knows how to use a credit card, for crying out loud. But this pampered princeling has no idea. Mike, we've got to go, but thanks for that. Abby from Surrey says, did you hear that Clive Bull nearly gave us, the listeners, a collective heart attack a few days ago when he said that Nick was leaving LBC? We all thought he was referring to you until he realised his faux pas and had to repeatedly assure everyone that he didn't mean Nick Abbott through the duration of his programme. We all thought maybe Donald Trump or Liz Truss or any of the others that you had disrespected had got you fired at last. We were prepared to go out in the streets the following day to protest at such a blatant injustice until Clive corrected his gaffe. Yeah, correct your gaffe, Clive. Edward says, Nick, I am fed up of seeing fishy blue tack's photo each day in the Daily Paper. He's always in a blooming white shirt with his sleeves rolled up and his tie tucked in, donning either a hard hat or a high-vis jacket. trying to look interested while visiting the poor bleeps who are forced to smile in the background. I cannot believe that he managed to go to a hospital and find a medical professional who was willing to smile next to him for a selfie. What was that about? Was she a plant or was she a real person? They found a Tory supporter in an NHS hospital. Can you believe that?
No.
No, me neither. Or maybe she was just delighted because he was famous. Everybody wants to be famous. And if you can't be famous yourself, then have your photo taken next to someone who is. Where does he get those stupidly skinny ties, by the way? I mean, who wears ties that thin? I know he's trying to make himself look bigger, but in the same way as housing developers have specially created half-sized furniture to make their ridiculously tiny rooms look bigger. You know, they won't have a double bed. They'll have like a single and a half and put it in a bedroom that's like 9 foot square. It makes it seem like it's a bigger room. And they'll have specially made sofas and chairs to put in their tiny, depressingly small living rooms to make it appear as though you actually got room. But you put your own full-size furniture in there and you can't open a blooming door to get out the room. Same with him and his stupidly skinny tie. What's that about? Apparently he has those suits made to measure. Who they are made to measure, no one knows.
This is LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Would you mind telling me what this is all about?
Yes, it's about the destruction of everything that we hold dear. 0345 6060 973. Bob tweets his priority, I'm assuming you mean Rishi Sunak, his priority is that he is... Yeah, okay. I mean, that's just insulting, Bob. Why can't you just be nice? His priority is he's a little gnome with small boy trousers and he has to impress his father-in-law. Did you know his parents ran a pharmacy? Yes. Yeah, I think I've been told that about 1,000 times. Glasgow, hello, Carolyn.
Hi, Nick.
Carolyn.
Lovely to speak to you.
Carolyn.
I was wanting to speak about the Rishi Sunak's Wednesday's conference, but see, before I do, I was worried about the jam you ate.
Yes.
What flavour was it? Was it
strawberry?
Right. Okay. I've got a degree in health studies, and I'm a bit worried that maybe you're going to have a kind of sort of reaction to strawberries. So
well, no, strawberries are fine. I think that there may be a foreign body of some sort in that jam. I mean, there's something that's like restricting my throat, and this happened before a couple of weeks ago. And the same blooming jam has been sitting in my fridge, and I thought, well, it couldn't possibly be that, could it? Yeah, I think it actually was.
No, I would put it in the bin right away.
Well, I've finished it. Yeah, I know. I've finished it now. And I thought maybe I should have kept it because if I actually die, then it would be possible to sue the company involved for billions of dollars.
Oh, please don't die. No, that's not allowed. That's not allowed.
But then I washed it. So it's clean now, and the evidence is no more.
Just stay away from the strawberry jam. I wouldn't. Right,
very,
definitely.
very dangerous strawberry jam.
Very dangerous, very dangerous. But I have to say, I was thinking about the Rishi Sunak press conference. I get in from work early, and I thought I'm going to watch it in case he's announcing a general election or something, and which. No chance. But I watched it and I could not believe it. I actually thought, this is a parody. This is a joke. This is a parody.
It's like one of those deep fake videos.
It was, because there's somebody on Twitter does a parody of Rishi, and it's absolutely brilliant. And I thought, this is a joke because it was so bad. And I thought, is people actually watching this and thinking, yeah, that's fabulous. Great. I cannot imagine anybody that would have watched that and said, this is a fantastic idea. We've got a great Prime Minister.
And you know what? There's absolutely no way on earth that Rishi Sunak came up with that text himself, with that script. No. He didn't write that himself. He had a person do it for him. And that person should be should be actually given a medal because because it's made him appear even more ridiculous than he was already. But if I were Rishi Sunak, I think I would have them fired immediately, like out of a cannon.
I don't know who's advising them, but it is absolutely shocking.
Awful.
But do you know another thing I noticed? I don't know if this is just a women's thing, but see when he was up at the podium, his trousers have got longer. Seriously, his trousers are now, used to see them, there was about 2 inches above the shoe.
Yeah.
They were actually well hanging below the shoe.
Wow.
So obviously he knows now that people are ridiculing him and he's maybe taking that advice. But seriously, it was an absolute disaster. And I mean, I think this is our Prime Minister. It's an embarrassment, isn't it?
It's one embarrassment after the next. I mean, first we had David Cameron, who was, the very embodiment of an entitled toff. And then we had Mrs. M, who, if I had to pick one of them, it would have to be her. If we, go back in time and select one of the ones that we have suffered under over the last 13 years, then it would be her, despite the fact that she cannot walk in those shoes. Hey, Mrs. M, kick off those comedy clown shoes. Relax. Put your feet up. You deserve it. And then we had this bloke who sort of debased the entire nation and to become a device for the introduction of pleasure to him. And after that, it really got comical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But can I tell you, Nick, my husband was in the British Airways lounge, the sort of silver gold card lounge, when David Cameron was Prime Minister, and he was sitting in the lounge, and David Cameron and George Osborne came in.
Ugh.
And what he described was there were like two giggling schoolboys, and everybody in the lounge just looked up at each other, because they couldn't believe it. They were little giggling boys and saying, oh, right, this is free, great, da-da-da-da-da. And he said he could not believe it, And it's steadily got worse and
We
worse
are not being led by serious people. These are just a
No.
bunch of chancers who got lucky and are petrified of losing their grip on power, because they might actually have to earn some money doing a proper job.
Which they wouldn't
Actually,
know
that'll
how
never
to do.
happen. I take that back. That will never happen. They will have created enough wealth for enough people to be delivered to at least a half a dozen non-jobs that they don't have to show up for after they leave the Houses of Parliament.
And can I just say, Nick, that I just have to say this, that a lot of my friends are nurses, right, and see during COVID, I just have to tell you this. I spent about, a couple of hours with a friend who was working during that day in COVID. She'd been on at 7 a.m, and she didn't go home till midnight, and she cried her eyes out because she'd done from Monday to Friday, and they wanted her in the Saturday, Sunday as well. She hadn't seen her daughter, her husband. I mean, it really upsets me when I think of what they went through and the respect they're getting. I just wanted to say that because it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It really does.
I think you're describing your friend. She sounds like an enemy of the people to me.
Exactly. It's heartbreaking, and I tell you, she's still working away hard as ever. A lot of the nursing staff and, as I say, the doctors are getting this really, really bad. They're trying to sort of bring them down, and you think it is absolute. See if you could see what she was like, and the heartbreak, and and the things they were asked to do way beyond what they were trained to do.
Everybody else was cowering indoors, inside, washing all of their groceries and leaving the grocery bag outside the door for 3 days to get rid of any disease that might be stuck to it. Nurses and doctors, meanwhile, were wearing bin bags, treating the sick, and they were themselves getting sick. And now that now that that's all over, we, the people, are supposed to feel that because they have brought to our attention the miserable state of the NHS, that they are enemies of the people and they should be shunned. Well, to hell with that. Carolyn, thanks for that. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Have I done a break yet? Blank looks all round. I'll assume that the answer is yes. I'm a good boy, I am. George tweets, just look at how much money that dullard Truss has made since her 50 days of chaos. If she can make money out of utter failure, just think how much Sunak is going to get out of it. Boatloads. Not small boats. Big boatloads. Let's have a call in Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Nick, how are you doing?
Good, thanks.
We since last Sunday in Wales, there's been this imposed 20 miles an hour.
Right.
You would not believe the furor that this has caused. There's been a petition on Twitter which has reached 300,000. Supposedly, right. I don't accept any of these figures, but anyway, it was all this artificially stoked up by this apoplectic lunatic that's running the Conservative Party down this neck of the woods, and he has gone overboard. I can only say he's just gone overboard. Mm-hmm. And the end result of all this is that they've got they have claimed that the whole of Wales is up in arms. So he conducts a poll on Twitter, and guess what? The majority of people are quite happy because it's not at 20 miles an hour all over Wales.
Yeah.
It's just outside schools and hospitals.
Built up areas.
And where it was 20 miles an hour before it started.
Right.
You would not believe the furor that they
No, I would believe it, because we in this country are now being led by those who shout the loudest.
That's it.
And they think they can find a way to win the next general election by using a tactic that they haven't tried before, because the Tories would normally go on, we're the party of law and order. Well, they can't do that anymore. They would normally go to the public and say, well, we are the party of fiscal responsibility. Well, that's out, and so they think, oh, God, what can we actually offer? What have we improved over the last 13 years that people can, put their finger on and say, yes, that's a good reason to vote Tory again? Well, they can't think of a single solitary thing. And so the only success that they've had recently, or you could call it a success, but they just squeaked a win because, as usual, the left split their vote to allow the Tories to win in Uxbridge, which was Bodger's old manor.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And by old manor, I mean a place that he was supposed to be representing but hardly ever visited. I bet he couldn't find it with a sat-nav. And so they thought, well, and the reason that they won that is, apart from the left splitting their vote, as they usually do, it was because they told a lot of lies about ULEZ, which was actually the Tories' idea, and the Tories insisted on it, but they made a fist of pretending that it was Labour's idea, Labour's plan. They're trying to ruin your life with this ULEZ nonsense, and just enough people bought that. And then, like a light bulb went off over their heads, and they thought, that's it. We're going to put a new wing on the war on woke and try to make it appear as though the Labour Party is anti-car. Well, it's not anti-car, it's pro-people.
Yeah. It's an exact rerun of ULEZ. And they were the ones who proposed the 20 mile an hour limit before the whole thing. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. There is no limits to how stupid they think we are.
Exactly.
How's that big hole in the ground working out for you there, Jeff, in Merthyr Tydfil?
Well, the thing is, it's still producing coal.
Is it?
It's still coming out of there.
Right.
I can't. I can't get my head around this.
I don't know. What kind of country is this? I mean, the license runs out. They're not supposed to be digging coal out of the ground anymore, but they continue doing it anyway. And it's not as though it's in secret. It's not underground. They cut the top of a mountain, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Sundance and Butch, the running the show there. Apparently, they come in from miles around to get coal out. Anybody can go up there. Get the call out. Go on.
But you have to provide your own bag, because they're not giving out those anymore, to protect the environment. All right, thanks a lot, Jeff.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Shut up.
I can't. 0345 6060 973. Caroline texts, sadly Sunak is like Modi, privileged, nationalist and in love with corporations. The little people, who cares? Says Caroline. Leatherhead. Hello, Tim.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, Tim.
Hello, how are you?
Great, mate.
I've only tuned in a while ago, and your colleague said to me that you'd already announced it, but I thought we might as well do it twice.
Yes.
The Rejoin March tomorrow in London.
The Rejoin March?
Rejoin the EU.
Yeah. What time does it start?
12 o'clock, Hyde Park.
12 o'clock on the nose. Okay, well, you have my full support, if not my actual help.
Are you not going to be there, Nick?
Most certainly not, no. I shall be staring into...
Why not?
I
What are you
will be
doing?
staring into a computer screen all day long, making notes.
I thought you didn't do homework. You always said you don't do any homework.
Well, that is true. I've been found out.
You've been found out?
Yeah.
Have you thought about becoming a Tory MP?
Absolutely.
You're quite good at stringing a line, though.
Well, yeah, I could be a nodding dog for a living, no question. Yeah, I just wouldn't be able to live with myself. I'd have to go and live with somebody else.
Who might that? Who would you go and live with, Nick?
I don't know. How about you? I'll be there just after the show's finished. Leave a light on for me, Tim.
I'm in a villa in Fuerteventura at the moment.
Oh, well, that sounds lovely. As long as you leave as soon as I get there, that'll be fine.
I'll change the bed for you when I go.
Okay.
Put some fresh towels in.
Yeah, and I'll change the locks. Make sure you don't come back. Okay. Good work. Thanks a lot, Tim. 0345 6060 973. Sue says, do you think we need to pay the PM a higher salary? I feel like people want the job for status. Where are all the talented people? Don't we need someone really smart to run the country? Yeah, they keep saying this over and over again. Oh, you know what? It would be much better if we just paid our MPs more, because then we'd get a higher quality of person. And I think, no, we wouldn't. We'd get the exact same quality of person. We'd just pay them extra. The same people would still be attracted to that job, regardless of how much pay is involved. You think that somebody who's got a high-flying job in the business would jack all that in to be an MP? Why would they do that? All the grief that comes with being an MP. I mean, and there's that sort of stepping back in time life that goes with entering the Palace of Westminster. I mean, people prancing about with buckles on their shoes, for crying out loud. They don't want to do that. We get the same parade of dunces that we've got at the moment. It's just that they'd cost us more. So it's a no from me. I mean, if we could guarantee that we get a better quality of person, then I'd be all for it. But I think we get the exact same people. It'd just be more expensive. Sanj in Wokingham says, what gets me is when the Prime Minister was spouting out his imaginary laws that he was scrapping, not one journalist in the room laughed and asked him what the hell he was talking about. Well, that's the problem with trying to fact-check somebody in real time. And it's also the problem with people that lie so shamefacedly. Your initial reaction is, well, this person can't possibly be lying to me because that would be too embarrassing for them. It would be too embarrassing to be caught out. Well, that is the beauty of having no shame. It used to be that you expected people in the public eye to act in a certain way because of fear of shame. Once you lose the ability to feel shame, then everything is on the books.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
You can do anything without shame, can't you, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
If you just don't care what people think, or just to keep just enough people on side to keep you in position, and you don't care about what anybody else thinks, then the smorgasbord of possibilities that open up to you are legion. It's exhausting, isn't it? Carnforth. Hey up, Annie.
Hey up, Nick. How you doing?
Great, mate.
Good, good. I was just ringing up about, you were saying about, what motivates Rishi Sunak. And one of your callers earlier rang up and said, they thought it was to do with money, making more money after he's left kind of thing. But I don't think it's what motivates people like him or Cameron or any of those. I think it's the ultimate sort of ego trip because, Rishi Sunak particularly has got enough money so that he could have everything in his house made from solid gold. He just doesn't need any more money. I don't think it's about money at all. I think it's about it's the ultimate ego trip. It's about being top dog, absolute top dog. And I think that's why Cameron, when he lost the vote for Brexit, I think that's why he just could not cope with it. He just flounced out, humming, and went to spend more time with his money because it would have been so embarrassing to admit that something had gone wrong for him because they are used to, those kind of schools that they go to, Eton, Winchester, they are they're probably brought up to be like that anyway, but also being at that kind of school, it just teaches you that feeling of superiority, of entitlement.
It teaches you that you were born to rule.
To rule, yeah, absolutely. So I think that's what he's about. I don't think it's about the money at all. I think he was desperate to get that top job, wasn't he? And now he's got it. It's a bit, oh dear. It's and I think they all think that they can control everything when they get there. But then, of course, when they do get there, things often start going wrong, and they can't control everything. Yeah. And
particularly if they're not very good at their jobs.
That's right, and I think that's another thing about private schools, especially those kind of private schools. You don't have to be particularly bright to go to those kind of schools. Your parents have to have a great deal of money.
Yeah.
Occasionally you get the odd bright kid that gets a scholarship, the odd ones that do. And I heard a programme once on the radio about that, a kid that had got a scholarship who was from a very ordinary background, just kind of from an ordinary house kind of thing. And he had this form to fill in for going to Eton, and there were questions on it like, how many acres of land does your father own? Yes. And do they have a plane or a helicopter? Something that's really relevant to education.
Yeah. How much in reparations does he owe the people of Jamaica? That kind of thing.
Yes, that kind of thing. So, I honestly don't think it's to do with money. I just think... Boris Johnson was another one, wasn't he? He just loved the attention and the power and just the ultimate ego
I
trip.
agree with everything you say, apart from that the money doesn't motivate them. I think that everything you just said is correct, plus the money. It doesn't matter how much money these people have. No amount is enough, because there's always somebody that they know that's got more.
Yes, I know what you mean. They do just love making money, but I don't think it's the absolute motivation for being PM. I think it's the power trip.
Right.
Actually, I've just heard the most fantastic song recently by an American singer-songwriter, and it's just a sort of one long kind of state of America thing now, but there's a verse in it where she's talking about rich people, and she mentions Bezos, and I just thought, actually, when I heard that verse, I thought, well, you could have just inserted Sunak there, and it would have just
or any
been
of them.
Any of them, yeah, absolutely. But it's a fantastic song. I do recommend it.
Well, who is
anybody.
it? You've got to tell us who it is.
You won't probably have heard of her, and possibly might not like her, but I think you might like this song. Her name is Iris Dement, and the song is called Going Down to Sing in Texas. And one of the verses, that verse that's got it, I can read. It's very short. I'll read it to you. It's, ain't we all just a bit tired of greedy people getting a pass, hoarding obscene amounts of wealth, riding on everybody else's back? Hey, Mr. Bezos, I'm talking to you. That flimsy veil you're wearing, it's so easy to see through. Ain't we all just a bit tired of greedy people getting a pass?
Yeah. Correctamundo.
Rock and roll!
Yes. Right. I endorse this tune.
Yes, I suggest you listen to it on YouTube or something like that. There's a nice video of her doing it live, actually.
On YouTube.
On
it's
YouTube,
available on an internet near you now. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Annie.
LBC with Nick Abbott.
Everything is going extremely well.
Yes, it certainly is. 0345 6060 973. Brent, Kai.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, I was trying to figure out why people with learning disabilities can't find like a little job or a little place to go.
You were wondering why people with learning difficulties can't find a little job or a place to call home?
No, some a little job where people can go, like people without learning disabilities. Because people with learning disabilities struggling to find jobs.
Right. Well, the reasons for that are many and various, none of which actually reflect well on us as human beings. Partly it's because people feel a discomfort around those who are in some way less able than they are because they can't imagine the circumstance in which they could be like those people, but it's just a matter of luck. So they other them. It's the same with people who are homeless or people who are, who are physically disabled, whatever it might be. We like to remove ourselves from them, and by that method, we think that we have removed the possibility of ever becoming like those people. We'll never become homeless because the homeless person is a drunk or a drug addict or they made stupid decisions in their lives, and we, smart people, will never make those decisions, so that will never happen to us. It's othering them, and I think that the same thing applies to those with learning disabilities. That shut you up, didn't it? Also, I mean, if you want help from the government, Kai, you had the opportunity to donate millions of pounds to the Conservative Party, but you failed to do that. You only have yourself to blame, so you get nothing. Is that any help?
Myself.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is. Well, that is a surprise to me and probably everybody that's listening to this right now. Well, I wish you all the best, Kai.
Okay, then.
All right. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. This text says, so what did Skier do with another open goal this week? Portray himself as a Remainer.
Oh, no.
I'm starting to believe your rhetoric that they will put their foot in their mouth and lose the election. He didn't come out as a Remainer. He just said something sensible about Brexit with the predictable response. I mean, it's just so ridiculous that the government's position is that someone is trying to steal Brexit from you. What about Brexit are you, the people, so desperate to cling on to? I mean, I'd love to know. What is it about Brexit so far that has enamoured you of the project? What do you like about it the most? What freedoms has it gifted you that you previously did not have? Nobody can think of a single solitary thing. I have done this on this show before. I had a whole 3 hours when I just asked the question over and over again. What is the benefit of Brexit? Name one thing. I'll make it super easy for you. Just one. I'm not asking for 10. One. And in 3 hours, not one single person could answer that question. And yet they're still banging on about, Keir Starmer is trying to steal your Brexit. Steal our Brexit? No. That would mean that we don't get to, all the things about Brexit that have been so great will be taken away from us, like, no, I can't think of a single thing, and neither can anybody else. Apart from this vague notion that it will free us. How's that working out, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
It's ridiculous. The majority of the people in this country think that Brexit is a disaster, and they've thought that every single week, bar, I think, 2 weeks since the referendum, not even from the moment that we left, from the day that we voted and the referendum. Look at the polling. The tracking is available on the World Wide Wait. You can see where Remain and Leave were, and Remain has always been ahead, apart from on the day of the referendum, and for, I think, 2 polls since. Every other poll, and they take these once a week, every single other poll, Remain has won. And the difference between the two is getting bigger and bigger. I mean, the people that still cling on to the idea that Brexit is great are in single digits.
Brexit's going great.
Like 1. It's not just 1. It's 1, and the editors of the right-wing press and some cranks from think tanks, which were funded by billionaires and corporations who have it in mind to make money off the back of this country sinking. And that's not conjecture. They already did. Hundreds of millions of pounds. Which sounds like treasonous behaviour to me. Why aren't these people in jail? But like I keep saying, in this country, if you steal £10, you will face the full might of the law. If you steal £10 million, then you will go not to jail, but to the House of Lords. It's the British way. And it's the right thing. Which is what they will always say. That when describing something that is palpably wrong, they will say it's the right thing to do. Or that the Prime Minister has been very clear that it's the right thing to do, which always means it's the wrong thing in any given circumstance. York, hello, Wayne.
Hello, how are you this evening, Nick?
Great, mate.
Right, okay, just a quick one about the Brexit. Everyone I speak to, all they mention is fish.
Fish?
Fish. Fishing.
Fishing,
yeah.
Yes.
France and England and fish.
Yeah. Well, what about it?
That's all. That's the best they can come up with.
Oh, well, we know that the fishing industry was chucked overboard, metaphorically speaking. They were the first casualties of Brexit. They were.
But anyway, let's move on to jam.
Jam.
Jam. Yeah.
Killer jam. Yes.
Yeah. So you said you did it. You did it twice. So
what an idiot.
Time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I came back to this jam thing that I had. I mean, I did feel that maybe it had glass in it or something like that, or some sort of like sandpapery kind of quality to it. So I put it back in the fridge. I had 2 weeks of feeling ill, and then today I thought, well, it couldn't be the jam, could it? And there was just a little bit in the bottom of the jar, so I finished that on a nice piece of toast. And I felt weird ever since. So I don't know what the hell was in it, but it was something bad.
Right. Well, just a quick story. So it's going back a few years now, and my previous dog, I left the door open for her food. Right. And she got in, she ate all the food, and she was ill for a day. I made myself some pork crackling with belly pork.
Ew.
And just to make rillets of pork. And I ate all the crackling. And I was literally driving the porcelain bus thereafter.
Sick as your dog.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. But
was it just because you ate too much, or was there something wrong with it?
It was because I ate too much. Right.
Right.
But, so, just like the dog, she ate too much of her food because the food expanded in the stomach and da-da-da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
And then a week later, I thought, right, no, I'm going to do this. I am going to make this rillets of pork. And I got some more belly pork. And yet again, I ate all the crackling. Right?
Wow.
And an hour later, I'm driving the porcelain bus again.
Well, you and me, what a couple of morons.
Well, this is it. Well, the thing is my ex was a vet, and she said to me, because the dog had never, after it had done that, it learned its lesson, and it never stole food again. I did it twice. She said, "You know what? The dog is more intelligent than you.
The dog should be taking you for a walk."
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, it's all. I honestly, and it just really brought me back down to earth and thought, I'm sick as a pig in poo-poo.
Mm-hmm. No, I think the phrase is happy as, not thick as. I think a pig actually really enjoys being in poo-poo.
Disgusting.
Happy as, not thick as. Anyway, good work there, Wayne. Don't ever do that again, and I'll try not to do that either. Just making the same mistake over and over and over again. I'm a very stupid person.
Correct.
James says, Nick, the Rishi speech was particularly troubling to me, as when I heard it, I was on the way to the airport in a car share with 7 bins of meat. Imagine the panic. We immediately pulled over and everyone fled the scene. I just don't think I can take any more of this uncertainty about what's allowed and what isn't. Please make it stop, says James. I cannot believe that the Prime Minister... Well, first of all, I can't believe that the Prime Minister of this country is actually Rishi Sunak.
This government,
Mr. Speaker. Oh, make it stop. I'm with James. Just make it stop. Please, I'm begging you. I cannot believe that that man is the Prime Minister of this country. First of all. Second, I can't believe that he actually made that video, that it's not some sort of deep fake thing that, that somebody's digitaled in. And he looks so pathetically eager, bouncing up and down like he just can't wait to tell us this exciting thing that he's been keeping from us for a special occasion. And you expect... hang on. It's the jam. And you expect it from this guy.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Because, everything he said was a lie. He is the master of mendacity. But Fishy Sunak started with this.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
Integrity, professionalism and accountability. Well, integrity, no. Professionalism. And as for accountability, apart from passing a law that prevents people from protesting against the government, which is in itself the least accountable that a government could possibly be, they have refused, since Fishy Sunak came to power, he has refused more freedom of information requests than any Prime Minister in history. I believe that that's actually true. Accountability. You just can't believe a single solitary word these people say. I mean, it's staggering, isn't it? OK, we used to get lied to, or people used to bend the truth if they were in power, but they didn't just flat out lie to your face, knowing that you would know that they're lying, but do it anyway. Like I said, this government seems to be gripped with, in any given situation, what would Donald Trump do? Which is usually the worst thing to do in any given situation.
Oh, shut up!
0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Nobody. What number are you calling from?
Thanks for asking. It's 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. John says, the only reason they want to hang around for another term is posterity, how they are seen in the history books. May, Johnson and Truss, etc. Well, I think that history would treat them more kindly if they if they just went away. If they just disappeared, then history would treat them more kindly. If they just said bye-bye and left us alone. Just a thought. Devon, hello, Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick. Well, I'm going to listen to that song that Annie quoted about the rich getting a free pass. Mm-hmm. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. I should have noted it down.
I couldn't catch it. Aristide something.
Yeah. Something like that.
Mm.
The internet knows.
The internet knows, yeah, Google. Well, yes, and my thing is not unrelated, really. And I've written down tyranny here as well. Well, it's the Ukrainian Freedom Orchestra. And I have to say I was very moved earlier this evening. It's composed of... I wanted to just say something briefly about that. And then what their very interesting remark by their patron, which...
Who's the Ukrainian Freedom Orchestra?
Well, they've been formed by Ukrainian musicians in exile and Ukrainians from other orchestras. And they're marvellous. I heard them this evening.
Right.
And their tour, you see, began in Warsaw last month. And so we heard the opening concert on radio tonight, a live recording sent by Warsaw, you know.
Yeah.
And Beethoven, he does tend to keep popping up, I'm afraid, Nick. It's Beethoven's Ninth is Great Call for Liberty and the equality of all people, you see.
Is that the one that goes da-da-da-da? No, that's the fifth.
No, darling. Do you need me to do the tune of the Ode to Joy?
No.
Right, I won't then.
Does it go like this? I love that one.
Well,
Beethoven could only dream of writing something like that.
I know, poor soul. Well, I've lost my thoughts now. The equality of all people is what it's really all about, and the final ode to joy, which you won't let me sing.
No.
The anthem for unity, and I shouldn't giggle because it was terribly moving. You see, it was specially translated into Ukrainian because that's where you get the singing. And the choir was a big Polish one, but the four soloists were Ukrainian, so you can imagine they sang with considerable passion. And, well, you know, you can imagine, really. Liberty, equality, and so on, and there they are in exile, sort of thing. But the orchestra were formed, they say, I suppose it's obvious, really, to give a voice to their country and be a symbol for the people. And their patron, the princess, I think it was, has called them our soldiers of music.
Princess who?
And she said this. Sorry?
Princess who?
Oh, I don't know.
A princess.
All, you see.
Right.
In Ukraine, yes.
A random princess, yes.
Well, I suppose it's the princess, but you see, it's difficult to recall.
Ukraine has a princess?
You know.
I did not know that.
Well, I think we need... I have tried to check this out.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It's really what this person said.
A Ukrainian princess. Checking that as you wait.
Yeah, see if there's a Ukrainian princess, a patron of the orchestra.
Olga of Kiev. Princess Olga Pskov Airport. Princess Olga Pskov Airport. Now, that is either a really weird name for a princess or they've named an airport after her. Let's assume that it's the latter.
Yeah. I think we better, don't you? Yes. Well, anyway, I think it was her.
But wouldn't that be coincidental, by the way, if somebody was actually called Princess Olga Pskov Airport and they named an airport after her? Yeah, but then it would be Princess Olga Pskov Airport Airport.
So stop it. May I please tell you this lovely sentence that she I think, is the one who said this. She's called them our soldiers of music, which set me off for a start. And then she said, evil will always be there. And as long as we live, we must make every effort to fill the world with good things.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, there you are, really, aren't you?
Just try to be HAPPY and spread it about a bit.
Yeah.
What's so hard about that?
Can I say something else? Because I just thought when you said I couldn't live with myself, I have to go and live with someone else. I thought that was brilliant. I suppose why I thought it was brilliant was because it reminded me of something I said years ago, which was, I wish somebody would marry me and take me off my hands. It's the same thing, isn't it?
I'm stealing material from you from years ago now. Guilty. All right, thanks a lot, Rose. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Jerry says, what are you on about being damaged by jam? Jam is mostly made of sugar, which is a natural preservative that does not go off. It is what most Americans are made of. It's what most Americans are made of. That's just a fact. No, I think that there was something in the jam. Either the glass jar itself had splintered inside, and I've just been eating glass, or there was some foreign body of some sort that shouldn't have been in there. But it does. But I can feel my throat constricting, just as it did a couple of weeks ago when I ate from the very same jar. Oh no! Yeah, but I did it again. How stupid is that? No, Nick, that wasn't stupid. It could have happened to anybody. Why do you beat yourself up like that? Can I get a bit of help here, please? Let's have a call in Kingsbury. Dermot.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
Great, mate.
You all right? Yeah, I just wanted to... I heard you earlier on about the scrappage scheme. It just happened that...
you didn't? Haven't mentioned it on this show.
I thought I heard you talking about it earlier on.
No, not on this show.
Oh, sorry. Maybe it was up before 12 o'clock.
Ah. I was on before 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Which station are you listening to there, Dermot?
LBC.
Ah. Are you listening to us on delay?
No, just whatever. No, I was listening to you on LBC and...
right. And you heard me talking about scrapping my car for ULEZ, but I haven't even mentioned that on this show. But anyway, go ahead.
No, it's just that I have done it this week, funny enough, and I thought you were talking about Mr. Khan and...
No. I may have mentioned him in passing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about half an hour ago, actually, and I done it this week, and it was just a sad day for us, really. We had to lose this car.
Right.
Because
what kind of car was it?
It was an Astra 07 diesel, 57,000 miles.
You've got to be kidding me. It was sad to lose an Astra diesel.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but
a tear to the eye?
I have a new car.
Right.
I'm just talking about, my wife used to go up to the Sainsbury's and Asda and all the rest of it.
Yeah. And you fell in love with that car. It's like a pet.
It was kind of part of the family.
One of the family, exactly right, yeah.
It was like...
a diesel Astra.
Yeah, exactly. A beautiful car, no trouble. Yeah,
not really. Not what I'd call beautiful.
Done 150 miles a year.
Yeah.
150. 150 miles a year. I've got every single MOT since it was bought brand new.
Are you saying? Wait a minute. 150 miles a year.
Yeah.
Where are you? How are you using that car?
My wife only goes to the hairdresser at the weekend. To Asda in Wembley Park, and maybe to Harrow.
Do you have any idea how much it costs to run a car?
Yeah, I know exactly what it costs to run a car.
You could have, for the same money, you could have bought yourself you could have hired yourself a chauffeur to take your good lady wife.
Well, that's what I'm going to do now.
Right,
so I'm waiting for my £2,000 now. I have a brand new car. I have a Hyundai on our driveway. But I'm just saying the way Mr. Khan brought it in, I think it was very unfair to the unfortunate people. Because he did not give us...
Mm-hmm.
He did not give us enough time.
Right.
He only brought it in on the 21st of September.
But you've managed to swap your car in the time given. So what are you complaining about?
He did not give us enough time.
Yeah.
Because he did not bring it in till the 21st of September.
You just told me that you had swapped your car, so you have had enough time.
No, he did not give us enough time.
You just told me that you had swapped your car, so you have had enough time.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Dermot, you started this conversation by telling me that you'd scrap your car. You were very upset. It's the first time in history that anyone has been upset to lose a Vauxhall Astra, for crying out loud. Diesel yet. But OK, I'll buy it. You were in tears. What colour was it? Don't tell me. Brown. And then you're complaining that you weren't given enough time to do the thing that you just did in time. And anybody that keeps a car to do 150 miles a year needs their speedometer checked. As in, it costs about $2,000 a year to own a car. And you just did 150 miles in a year. Get a cab. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Tweet from Pa. That's what it's written. That's how it's written. Pa. P-A-H. Pa. Tweet from Pa. Evening. You're right about the weather. I thought I was being waterboarded at work on Wednesday. I'm a gardener, and I also saw a mole blown about 20 feet into a hedge after popping its head up. Right. Global warming, says Pa. No, there's no such thing as global warming. An oil company representative told me so. Yeah, the weather on this week has just been off the scale, hasn't it? Thursday, particularly, was it was so dramatic. Because I stupidly believed the weather forecast for Thursday, which said it's going to be a 30% chance of light rain between the hours of 3 and 5, and that's it. Other than that, it's going to be sunny. Was it sunny?
No.
No, it was like the world was coming to an end. But as long as you were either inside or under shelter, which I was for most of the time, then it was dramatic. I mean, there was just some fantastic skies. Some of which I took pictures of and put on my Twitter feed. So if you want to see a rainbow going from St Paul's to the city and some dramatic cloudscapes, then it's there on my Twitter feed. You can enjoy it now and thank me later. No, wait. I've changed my mind. You can thank me now.
Thank you. This is LBC, leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we are doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
She is kook personified, and the idea of the podcast is that we try to solve people's problems while guffawing like seals. Now, if you want us to have a bash at your issue, you must send it to the following address. nickandcarol@global.com, NICKANDCAROL @global.com, but you have to prepare to be totally satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? You know, we're coming up to about 200 episodes.
What?
200. We're not far away. I need to count them to find out exactly what the 200th episode will be in order to do a special, which will sound exactly like all of the other ones, but it will have the word special in front of it. If you wish to be amused, I think it'll be right up your alley. Ask for it by name. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? It's on Global Player. Cambridge, Hassan. There's an incident over at Hassan's place. He's having a domestic. Don't you know? We'll come back to Hassan later, or maybe never. Harrow, Jonathan. Harrow.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
I had a few things I want to tell you that you might not be happy with.
You've had a few? Booze?
No, I've had to take my shirt off.
You've had to take your shirt off?
Because I was hot and then cold.
Yeah.
But I have a few things to tell you about your show that you might not be happy with that. So before that, can I quickly say that my money situation, I voted the Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
And my money situation...
Now you've lost your shirt.
No, listen to me.
I am listening to you.
my money situation was going from bad to worse.
Yes.
And now I've realised that in this country you can get loans very easily.
Loans.
Because I wanted to buy a new Jaguar and I did not even have money for that.
Right.
It was second-hand, actually.
Are we talking about cars or cats?
Yeah. And then this afternoon I came back from the very multicultural part of the city.
Yes. Which one?
And the London.
The London.
Yeah. In Harrow, I only went...
I didn't mean which city, I meant which part, but never mind. The London, yes.
I was in the multicultural part of Harrow today.
Right.
And I don't want to be offensive.
But
I was counting how many white people I could see.
Mm-hmm. Approximately how many?
And one...
more than that?
Two...
More than that?
6 million.
Less than that?
I think a lawyer in Calcutta has stolen my money. That's true.
Right.
Because I came back and I'm in my kitchen as I'm talking to you, and my entire wall cupboard literally fell on top of me.
But now, wait a minute. Can I ask you a question about this?
Go on.
Were you in the kitchen with your shirt off where you prepare food?
Disgusting.
Oh.
No, it just completely fell off the wall.
Yeah. What's that got to do with a lawyer in Calcutta?
Because my financial situation, the problem is that I was a bit silly voting for the Boris.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to now try and leave the country.
Why are you whispering at me now?
Usual issues with
right, the
lady.
next-door neighbour is banging on the wall. Keep that racket down. Told you before.
I would like to, unfortunately, give you a bit of feedback.
You're going to give me a bit of feedback on this show?
Because your callers now, no offence to them.
Yeah, morons.
But, no, a lot of them, a lot of them are now becoming sort of, they sound like the crusty lefties.
Oh, you mean the wokey-cokies?
Okie dokie. If you go to any big town now, it is full of the university walkie-talkies.
Yes.
And they're all so smug. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them now, they say they are the neurodivergent.
Yes. It's because they're young and their knees still work, and there just might be a distant possibility of them having sex.
No, it's not that. It's all that's all they talk about. But they wear sort of the big glasses. They all have big hips. They have coloured hair. And
hips.
They wear...
Did you say hips? They have big hips.
Yeah, you can't tell which is a man's or the woman.
Oh, I see, right.
And
very difficult to tell these days. That is correct, yes.
You'll get arrested if you say that, and they wear the headphones. They wear the headphones because they don't want to be triggered by the sound.
Well, yeah, they're sound-cancelling headphones, Jonathan, so you can talk as loudly as you like to them. They won't hear a thing.
No, but I'm just saying...
If only I had a pair of those right now.
Now, listen to me quickly. Can I say that...
I am listening to you.
I know you're not a fan, but you need some of the real people to call you up. Because,
like who?
Because
like you. I don't believe that you're a real person.
You have all of the lefties calling up now, and they're all saying, what will you do when the Keir Starmer is elected instead of the Rishi Sunak?
Yes.
Because I will end by saying this. Just because of personal hygiene and smell reasons alone, I would much rather share a lift with Rishi Sunak than the Russell Brand.
just for reasons of personal hygiene. Well, that makes sense. Thanks a lot, Jonathan. Please, I am begging you, put your shirt back on. No one wants to see that. That's just a fact. What is this show about? Answers on a postcard to the following address. Jasper from New Malden says, "Hi, Nick. It was only Boris who wanted 7 bins. That was for his empties after his parties." Parties? I think you mean all-night-long business meetings. Parties. The very idea. Let's have... let's try this Hassan person in Cambridge again. Hello?
Yeah, hi, Nick. I was just waiting for Jonathan to come and tell us how bad all the wokey-cokies are.
Yes.
And the crazy lefties.
Mm-hmm. They sound awful.
Absolutely. But I think Sunak has discovered what he thinks is the veg issue, which he'll fight the campaign on, right? So it will be a crusade against all these woke people trying to save the planet and other sort of peripheral issues like that.
People that care about other people and the place that we live. Yeah, that's what they're going to go on.
The only planet that we know of. But I think what is also sad is that I think as Sunak moves to the right, I think he will drag Starmer along with him, because Starmer has this habit of promising one thing to somebody and then promising the diametric opposite a few days later to somebody else.
Well, you could say the exact same of Rishi Sunak.
Yes, Rishi is also an expert at that. So that means that there's not much of a difference between Starmer and Sunak. And
I disagree, and I will do the parallel lines thing again, even though this is going to get really boring. But think of the Tory party and the Labour Party as two parallel lines. Now, the assumption is, from yourself and others that I hear over and over on this show, is that there will be no difference regardless of which one is in power. And I say that there will, even if it's 1 degree of difference, the tiniest degree of difference. You might not notice straight away, but over a long period of time, that 1 degree will make those parallel lines diverge by a massive amount.
But shouldn't we be putting our effort into making sure that the divergence is much greater than 1 degree?
If you're expecting things to change dramatically for the better if the Labour Party wins the next general election, then I'm afraid I have bad news. Things will not change for at least the first term. It will take 5 years to even begin to undo some of the mess that the Tories have caused this country over the past 13 years. So it's at least a 2-term project. Think of it as a cargo ship. You can't turn them around on a sixpence. They take miles to stop and turn. So that's the same for this country. So it's going to be like a 10-year project to repair some of the damage that has been caused to this country over the past 13 years.
No, but my concern is that they will come into power. There will be no change. And people will get very frustrated and vote them out, so they'll never even get a chance for the second term.
I agree completely. That is precisely what will happen, because the right-wing press will, on day one, blame the Labour Party for everything that the Tory party have done to this country over 13 years. That is absolutely true, as will the Tories. And there may well be just enough gullible people to put the Tories back in after 5 years of Labour trying to undo their mess.
Yeah. No, and that means that this hope that this will take 10 years, Starmer and co will not have 10 years. At best, they'll have 5 years.
Yeah, I agree.
And so we should be pushing them to make changes more quickly.
Yeah, right.
So this continuation of Tory austerity, this continuation of Tory policies on taxing
I agree.
and spending.
I agree completely.
We need to push them.
There's a but, though. The but is that Keir Starmer has not really done anything dramatic. In fact, deliberately so. He's stood there as though a frightened bunny in the headlights, unsure about which way to jump. Now, the result is he is 20 points ahead in the polls. So now there really is pressure on not to do anything dramatic, because to lose the next election, being at this moment 20 points ahead in the polls, would be one of the biggest misses in political history. So he doesn't want to go down as being that much of a loser. So everything that he says from now on will just be a reiteration of what he's said up to now, which is basically not a lot.
Nothing. And you think that this Sunak and the new sort of anti-woke policies will not shift the opinion polls?
No, I don't think people are buying it. I think that the Tory party is just in desperate straits now. They don't know what to do. They don't know what way is up. I think they've really, apart from monetising their position, I think they've forgotten what they're actually doing, what their purpose in life is. And people aren't going along with it. But they keep telling us what our number one priorities are, but those do not chime with the public. We generally do not have as our number one priority repelling people in small boats. Our number one priority is, have you seen the price of food in the supermarkets? Have you seen how hard it is to get an appointment with your GP? Forget about seeing a consultant. That's not possible anymore. These are our number one priorities, but they can't go to the public on those because they are the ones that cause them in to a large extent. Hassan, I've got to go, but thanks for that.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio making a picture again.
It's a radio show, dear. 0345 6060 973. Oldbury, Oranget.
Hi, mate. You okay?
Yes, good, thanks.
I'm just a bit worried about you and this jam, mate. You know, was it somebody, Russian that kind of gave you to eat or anything like that?
Well, it's highly suspicious, I think.
It is, yeah. Well, what I was going to talk about, I'm afraid, because you're having jam and somebody might send me a present for me to eat, and I'm just too afraid, yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, but, I think this week there was no dinghies coming across, was there? Because it's been all about this car and the 5 years.
I bet that there was the exact same number of people arrived by small boat as they did on any other week.
Yeah.
It's just that we were distracted by other things.
And then all of a sudden, Rupert Murdoch's retired.
Yeah.
That's taken most of the news all around the world. Yeah. So the thing is, right, I'm just thinking, and you might bite my head off on this one. Even though he's increased the time limit for another 5 years, what's stopping all the electric vehicle manufacturers still aiming for 2030? That's what I just don't really I can't grasp that.
I think they probably will be, because they've changed their business model to accommodate this date that Rishi Sunak has now torn up, and I don't think that the government will necessarily be the driver on this. I think that the car companies will take over, because they can't wait for some Tory politician to pull a date out of the air. They got plans to make. They got people to pay. They got factories to fill, and production lines to sort out.
I mean, if Sunak was really serious about this, he'd get the infrastructure about the charges. Like the one time I was driving through Lewisham and Peckham and that way, and all the houses and the flats and that. How are those people going to charge their cars?
I'll tell you how.
No.
I saw this with my own eyeballs when I was going up from Southend Green, which is near Hampstead Heath, to the Heath itself. And there's a road where, lots of fancy people live. And I've never seen this anywhere else. But in the pavement, stuck into the pavement, were round circles about like 6 inches across, something like that, which were charging points. Now, I don't know how they work, because I didn't see any car that was actually connected to one of them, because it was during the day, presumably the people were out at work. But I would guess that if you put the charging plug in it, then it rises up perhaps and looks like a bollard or something like that. But there was one in every outside of every house all the way up this street. Now, if they can do it there, why can't they do it everywhere?
Yeah, but that's fine, but I don't think he's got the time. I think he has done a massive boo-boo here, and I think what he's trying to do is, like last week it was the triple lock, yeah? He's trying to give Sir Keir Starmer a loaded gun, right? And saying, well, we're actually thinking of, killing the triple lock. What are you going to do?
Killing pensioners, yes.
Killing pensioners, yeah? And stuff like that. And the thing is, if I was, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, I'd say, get stuffed, mate. I ain't going to tell you nothing until I win. When I win, I will do what I want to do.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you can't really go to the public by saying, well, you just vote for me and I'll tell you what I'm going to do later.
No, not so much that way. But because see what it is now, the Tories have run out of people to aim at now, yeah? Okay, they're finished with the dinghy people, they're finished with the unemployed, the immigrants,
people of colour or whatever.
I don't think they've finished with any of those people, and there's a whole net of people that they haven't even started on yet, like the single mothers, for instance. They used to be the bête noire of the right-wing press. I think that they're due for a reissue.
So it's like, how fashion comes back round, right? Maybe the flares will come back round, so they'll start picking on single mothers who are looking for council houses and that. Yeah, that may happen. But I think that they are running out of ideas. And when he keeps on saying you've never had it so good, yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, there's lots of people who have lots of different affairs, yeah? Okay? Can you imagine if, say, for some...
Where'd he go?
Right, Rishi, can you hear me?
I can now. You dipped out for a brief second there, Ranjit. I think
maybe I've been.
You've been rumbled, yeah.
Yeah, no, okay. So if say a child was born with Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss, what would they say and what would they sound like? And I was just thinking about that. Each time you go, priority, you've never had it so good, yeah. And when she went to, was it Russia or somewhere where she was dressed like Margaret Thatcher, right? That's going to go down in history, right, as one of the most stupidest things.
Well, if only she wasn't competing with 1,000 other more stupid things, then perhaps, yes, that would be remembered. I've completely forgotten about that. But anyway, Ranjit, gotta go. Thanks a lot, mate. David texts, at least Rishi isn't trying to reverse Brexit, that Starmer will drag us undemocratically back into the EU, and all the massive advantages we've seen after Brexit will be lost. He'll be saying next that he wants free trade with our nearest and biggest trading bloc. How ridiculous would that be, says David. Sarcasm alert.
Warning.
Let's have, let me see now, Walton-on-Maze. David.
Hello there, Nick.
David.
Pleasure to speak to you.
Yes, sir.
I have 3 points. Sheila Fogarty yesterday mentioned that Rishi Sunak's husband had bought BP.
I'm sorry, what
spent
now?
over £1 billion on BP.
Rishi Sunak's husband?
Yeah, Rishi Sunak's wife's dad.
Right, not his husband, his wife. Right, what's his husband doing meanwhile?
He's invested £1 billion in BP.
Right, that's not quite true. Go on.
Before that, he issued 10 new licences for oil extraction.
Yeah, I think some of these figures may be wrong, but go ahead.
Yeah, and he's now extended it from 30 to 35. Do you think these points match up?
I think nothing you've said so far is accurate, but it doesn't prevent them from being true. Even if they're not true, they don't necessarily mean. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not facts. But I appreciate the effort there, David. Yeah, some of the above isn't true. Which parts? That's up to you. Rich says, Nick, did you suggest bringing back the Boris? I think that glass that you swallowed a few weeks back is now in your brain. Are you feeling well? Actually, no. I'm not feeling well. But you know me, I really don't like to mention it.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Let's see. Fontaine. Doug.
Yes, Mr. Abbott.
Doug.
It was Ross your dad? You've got such a humour. Too much, very funny. Thanks for such a very good show. You were saying earlier on about Brexit, Well, I know one thing that is a blessing from Brexit, and believe me, I'm not a Brexit person at all.
Okay.
It upset me greatly.
Right.
But I live in Scotland, and I am Scottish, although I've got an English accent. But the thing that Brexit has given us is a second crack at independence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Even though the dial hasn't moved that much on it, though, has it? Quite surprising, really.
I think it's unfortunate that the headquarters of democracy sort of like said you can't have your democratic rights.
Yeah, that's right.
But those were those people that you refer to as wearing funny stockings and buckles on their shoes. They also talk with an affected accent as well.
Well, I don't believe that there's any evidence that they talk with an affected accent.
We could have cheaper food, clothing and footwear straight away.
Yeah, no, you are right. Yeah.
Yeah, but, at least here in Scotland we have got a ray of hope. I mean, if we get our independence, we can run our show, and we'll definitely do it a lot better than Whitehall and Westminster do it, I feel sorry for the English people, and because they haven't got anything. They should have an independence party, for goodness sake. They've got no escape.
Well, if we built a wall around the M25 and everybody inside could rejoin the European Union, and everybody that was outside that wanted to stay out of the EU, well, that's just fine. You can carry on. And then we revisited how well each one was doing after, let's say, 5 or 10 years. Then I feel pretty sure that the people inside the wall would be a lot more comfortable than the ones outside.
Fair enough. And we'll put Hadrian's Wall back up, so that'll be us all right, and we'll go back into Europe. We'll have a tunnel over to Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Job done. We'll run electric cable up there. We'll send all of our electric. We'll send it over to Ireland, because as it is at the moment, it gets stolen from us on the grid, right? And then they sell it back to us, and we have to buy it at the price that it costs to generate it from gas.
Right.
And also, because we're far away, we get charged even more. You couldn't make this up if you tried.
No, Norway kept their oil and gas for the benefit of the people. Scotland's oil and gas just got sold, and where the money went, no one knows.
Absolutely. No, it is a big, big problem. And Norway have got $1.7 trillion US in investment for their country.
Yeah.
For our oil and gas, we've got a £2.7 trillion national debt.
Debt. Yeah, exactly.
You look at that.
Yeah.
That
with everything else that is ailing the country, you just think, where has the money gone? Because none of it got on me. I don't know about you, Doug, but I didn't get any of that money on me.
Well, I was lucky in actual fact that I was just about by the skin of my teeth was able to work overseas for most of my life, and that's how come I could afford to retire. So I got a bit of savings, and that did me okay. But no, hard life. I can't for the life of me understand it. You look at Norway and look at the Nordic countries. They're all small countries, but they're all doing well. They all look after their people.
And yes, the people don't mind so much paying tax, even at a higher rate than we are paying tax, because they are sure from experience that their government is going to use that tax for the benefit of the people. We, in this country, resent having to pay tax because what do they do with it? They just award it to themselves for excellence in being them.
Well, I tell you what, it is so different up here. I, for instance, I'm a party member and I'm an office bearer, but I've actually spoken to Nicola Sturgeon, and Hamza Yusuf was up at Oban the other day, and I met up with him, had a chat. They're just ordinary, normal people, and they walk down the road, It's really sort of like totally different. If your lot down there went and walked out without a big police guard, I don't think they'd last long.
Well, you could imagine the crowd's response.
I tell you what, Nick, there's a cracker, and it's a wonderful picture. It's when Boris Johnson came up here to Edinburgh, right, and he's surrounded by a mob of people that are really sort of like shouting and looking dead angry, and he's surrounded by a huge amount of police, right, and everyone's looking well crabbed and very niggly indeed. And then there's another one, Nicola Sturgeon, in a huge crowd, thousands and thousands of people, and everyone's smiling.
Big difference, huge.
Yeah.
Really all right. Okay, thanks for the good news there, Doug. All you need is a relative, a recent relative that was born in Scotland, and you too can be free. Rich says, no, I've read that one. This says, so Nick Ferrari had Sir Jacob on this morning.
I don't know anything.
Jeremy Hunt on this morning, and last night Anne Widdecombe was on Ben Kentish, and we never had it so good earlier in the week.
We have never had it so good.
Yeah. Think of this as balancing. Ralph says, hey, Nick, did you see the picture of the Italian Prime Minister Meloni in The Guardian today? The resemblance to Liz Truss is startling. No, I did not. But I know where not to look if I don't wish to be startled. Thanks for that, Ralph.
This is LBC with Nick Abbot. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
We're running late.
We are indeed running late. Let's have a call in Woking. Hello, Jeff.
Morning, Nick.
Jeff.
I hope you are feeling better, seriously.
Thanks.
You've had 2 or 3 weeks of feeling a bit dodgy.
Yes, that's right. But I don't like to mention it.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
All right, that's enough of that. Anyway, Nick, as you say, for the last few years, the Tories have been saying, under just about any circumstances, what would Trump do?
Yes.
What would Trump... Now, I think from now on it's going to be, what would Liz Truss do? That seems to be the drift of things. Otherwise, things are going along. Anyway, just quickly...
just when you thought it couldn't possibly get any worse, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The thing is, Nick, I had my car MOT yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, I know nothing about cars whatsoever, but my regular mechanic, he really is very good and he knows about cars.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying about this 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, which is creeping in all over the place.
Right.
Where it used to be 30, now it's 20. Now, he was saying that, I can't even say it, catalytic converter?
Catalytic converter, yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently, every car's got one of those or something similar, and the job they do, it filters the bad fumes or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, apparently, these things don't kick in until the car is doing the optimum mileage speed.
Yes, that's not true.
Because he maintained that if you're doing 20 mile an hour or less, the converters don't function properly.
I believe that your car mechanic knows as much about cars as you could write on the back of a key fob.
Oh, well, I stand corrected then.
You stand what?
I stand corrected.
Oh, corrected. I thought you said someone else.
Disgusting. No. Oh, he got it wrong then, but that's what he told me anyway.
I'm only suggesting that he got it wrong because I'm looking at a piece of information on the World Wide Web which says as follows. If you exceed 3,000 RPM, the catalytic converter can stop working properly. If this happens, the emission of substances hazard to health and the environment increases. So drive in the following way to not exceed 3,000 RPM, upshift early, skip gears, drive in the highest possible gear, do not accelerate at more than half throttle. So it's the opposite of what you were told, according to this piece of information that I'm looking at on the internet as I speak.
All right. Well, I just quickly, I was doing, a few years ago, I was almost out of fuel, and I was on the motorway doing about 35 mile an hour, and the police stopped me.
Yes.
And they said that you're dangerous, you could cause an accident at that speed.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm almost out of petrol, I don't want to run out. And he said to me, your car will perform better if you're doing a bit faster, going a bit far, 45, 50 mile an hour, whatever it was, you know?
You mean you'll get more miles per gallon?
Yeah. It was
possibly, yeah.
Performance. Anyway, Nick,
put it into top gear.
Have a great weekend and take care of yourself.
OK, appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. I don't know. Did that sound like a threat? Are you threatening me? You take care of yourself. This says, sad to see Murdoch throw in the towel. Who's going to help the poorly educated reach a political decision? Well, that is a good point.
I love the poorly educated.
There's a certain individual, a certain type of person that loves the poorly educated. Let's have Bodmin, Malcolm.
Hello, Nick. How you doing?
Great, mate.
Nick, a couple of interesting factoids.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of polls out yesterday and today, and I think maybe the day before yesterday. And Sunak's personal rating since his speech has fallen.
Yes.
And 60% of British people are against his new proposals.
Yeah. Well, they're
60%.
against him being in power, period.
Yeah. And there's a fellow in America, and he works for CNN, and he became quite famous at the end of and after Trump's reign. And he was a fact checker. And he was the guy who was adding up the number of lies Donald Trump
right.
told.
I thought that was the Washington Post did that.
Yeah. Well, this guy, Daniel Dell, I think he may have... earlier I was going to say to you that he used to work for one of the big newspapers.
Yeah, Washington Post.
But now he's now a permanent CNN member of staff.
Okay.
But I think, and I said to you a number of weeks ago, Nick, that Sunak has fallen into the Boris Johnson trap of not always being 100% honest. And it was noticeable a few months back. And I think after the 3 or 4 things he claimed that he was scrapping, I think there's going to be a focus. I mean, there's a big proportion of the Tory party who don't like him. Clearly, the Labour Party do not like him. And I think there's going to be a similar thing happening to Sunak very, very soon, where people are going to count and make a big thing about the untruths he tells. And I think the election campaign, he's not going to be able to help himself. I remember him, Nick, back in Brexit days, and I've said this to you before, he was very, very prominent on Sky News. He was one of the people, Johnson's people, stuck out to talk about Brexit.
Yeah,
and
well, he was the Chancellor, so... Yeah.
No, this is way before then. Nick. He was only an MP then. This was like 2017, 18, may even have been before the Brexit vote.
Right.
And he was prominent then on the Leave side.
Yes.
And obviously he had to tell lies to get that through, and he's doing it now, Nick. And I think that is going to become a feature of the election campaign, that he is going to be fact-checked more than he's going to like.
It might happen, but it will happen in a left-wing paper, of which there are 2, The Guardian and The Mirror, and there's more people who write The Guardian and The Mirror than read The Guardian and The Mirror, so it won't go anywhere. I also think that there's a certain kind of I'm trying to think of another word than ennui, but there's a certain sort of exhausted tiredness about trying to deal with being lied to. It's if you're lied to so much, you just stop caring. Initially, you find it insulting to your intelligence. But if it just keeps coming, and there's just tsunami wave of mistruths coming at you all the time, like Donald Trump in America, you just stop caring after all, and you just sort of shrug your shoulders and go, "Oh yeah, well, whatever. Well, I'll believe you."
You say, Nick, it's the left wing press that will do that. I think, and Truss and Johnson will be at the forefront, I think, of this. There's an awful lot of the right wing who do not want Sunak there. And I think Truss now, she's been literally destroyed. And I think she's on a mission to have him removed. And she doesn't care what happens to the Tory party. She's been utterly screwed, I think. And there is a large element in the Tory party and in the membership who want him out. And the writing is on the wall. He knows it. That's why he's reaching the depths he is and lying.
Well, you could quite possibly be right. I mean, it doesn't seem to me that the Conservative Party actually cares about what happens to this country. They're prepared to see the country go down the plug hole for their own ends. As long as they get what they want, they don't really care about the consequences. So it's not too much of a jump from the country to their party. They don't care what happens to their party as long as they get what they want, which is it's almost going to sound like the Rocky Horror Picture Show now. A lurch to the left? No, a lurch to the right. You put your hands on your hips and you pull your knees in tight. You do the pelvic thrust, and then which makes you, which drives you insane.
Well, there's one of the papers tomorrow, Nick, are saying that, and this is one of the right-wing papers, are saying that the Conservatives have to go to, they got to go back to old school conservatism if they're going to stand any chance of winning the election. Now, that means, Nick,
hanging and flogging, I think, is exactly where we're going. Malcolm, we've run out of time. So sad. Thanks for the bad news. 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 Thanks for the bad news.